How did a 600 years old Noah single-handedly build an ark? The questions the Bible doesn't answer. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the entire world is about to disappear. Not because of war, not because of disease, but because God Himself has decided that humanity has become too corrupt to continue. Now imagine that out of every person on earth, only one man is chosen to survive. His name was Noah. According to the Bible, Noah built one of the largest wooden structures ever described, gathered animals from across the earth, survived a flood that covered the land, and became the ancestor of a new beginning for humanity. But behind this famous story are questions that people have debated for thousands of years. Why would a loving God destroy nearly every living creature? Why was Noah chosen instead of someone else? How could millions of animals possibly fit inside one ark? Did the flood really cover the entire earth? Or is the story trying to teach something much deeper than history alone? Today we're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to examine one of history's greatest mysteries through the lens of critical thinking. Let's begin. The story begins in the book of Genesis. Humanity had multiplied across the earth. Cities had grown. Families had expanded. Civilization was beginning to take shape. Yet Genesis gives a shocking description of the human condition. It says that the thoughts of people's hearts had become continually evil. Violence filled the earth. Corruption had spread everywhere. This raises our first question. How corrupt did humanity have to become for God to decide that starting over was the only solution? The Bible doesn't describe every crime that people committed. Instead, it summarizes the world with one word: violence. Some scholars believe this refers to widespread injustice, oppression, and moral collapse. Others understand it as humanity completely abandoning God's intended way of living. Whatever the exact reason, Genesis presents a world unlike anything God originally intended. Then comes one of the most remarkable verses. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Immediately another question appears. Why Noah? What made him different from everyone else? Genesis describes Noah as righteous and blameless among the people of his generation. But does that mean Noah was perfect? Most religious scholars say no. They argue that Noah was faithful, not flawless. Even later in Genesis, Noah makes mistakes. Perhaps the story isn't about perfection. Perhaps it's about faithfulness in a broken world. God gives Noah an astonishing command: build an ark, not a canoe, not a fishing boat. An enormous wooden vessel, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. According to Genesis, the ark measured roughly 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Depending on the length of a cubit, that would make it well over 130 meters long, large enough to amaze even modern engineers. But another question naturally follows. How could one family build something so enormous? Did Noah have help? Did other people assist him without believing his warning? Or did construction take decades, giving Noah enough time to complete the project? Genesis doesn't answer these questions. Then comes perhaps the greatest mystery. God commands Noah to bring animals into the ark. Most people imagine 2 of every animal, yet the biblical text is more detailed than many remember. Certain animals are counted differently from others. Clean animals are brought in greater numbers. Why? Because after the flood, Noah offers sacrifices. This detail raises another fascinating question. What exactly does the Bible mean by every kind? Did it mean every species alive today? Or broader categories from which many species later developed? Scientists estimate there are millions of animal species on Earth today. How could they all fit inside one vessel? Some believers argue that kind refers to broader groups rather than every individual species. Others see the account as theological rather than scientific. The discussion continues to this day. Then another practical question appears. Imagine caring for thousands of animals every single day. Who fed them? Who cleaned the ark? How was fresh water stored? How was waste removed? How did predators live beside prey? How did birds survive indoors for months? Genesis offers surprisingly few details. Some readers believe God miraculously sustained both Noah and the animals. Others see these unanswered questions as invitations to think more deeply about the story, rather than focus only on logistics. Then the rain begins. Not for one day, not for 1 week. According to Genesis, it rains for 40 days and 40 nights. Water rises higher and higher. Eventually, mountains disappear beneath the flood waters. And another enormous question emerges. Where did all that water come from? Genesis mentions the windows of heaven opening and the fountains of the great deep bursting forth. Some interpret these as literal events. Others believe they use symbolic language common in ancient Near Eastern literature. Scientists continue to debate whether geological evidence supports a worldwide flood, a massive regional flood, or whether the account should be understood primarily as sacred theological storytelling. The conversation has never truly ended. As the waters continue to rise, nearly every living thing outside the ark perishes. This is perhaps the hardest part of the entire story. If God is loving, why destroy almost every human and animal? Was the flood an act of justice? An act of judgment? Or something that modern readers struggle to understand because they view morality through a different historical lens? For thousands of years, philosophers, theologians, and skeptics have wrestled with this question. No single answer has convinced everyone. And perhaps that's exactly why the story continues to provoke discussion even today. How did a 600-year-old man was able to gather all the wild animals on Earth, such as a tiger, lion, snake, leopard? Is this not concerning? Share your thought in the comment section. Respectfully,